Welcome to the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast. Today's episode is Power in Laughter.
Welcome to the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast with Scott Whitwam, your blueprint to financial abundance. Settle in as we explore the mindset and methods for wealth building through real estate.
Welcome back. I'm Scott Whitwam, and today we're discussing power in laughter. Laughter isn't just entertainment. It's a powerful motivator for life, for work, and for one's resilience. Charlie Chaplin said, "A day without laughter is a day wasted." Chaplin was a brilliant actor, filmmaker, and comedian whose timeless iconic character, the Tramp, brought joy to millions around the world through his performances. He combined humor, empathy, and social commentary, providing that laughter has the power to heal and connect people across cultures. His quote, "A day without laughter is a day wasted," beautifully captures his belief in the importance of joy and lightheartedness in life. It reminds us that laughter is not just about entertainment, but a vital part of living fully. It uplifts the spirit, erases burdens, turns even ordinary days into something meaningful. So here's thought one. Laughter is a stress relief. We know that laughter reduces stress hormones and boosts endorphins. We've proved that scientifically. This will bring about calm and focus. Whether it's to your daily life, to your business, to your job, it will bring about calm and focus. It reminds me of when I had a conversation with a friend who was a bit overwhelmed, feeling pressured, and not very joyful at all. I reminded him that joy is not something that happens, but it's something that we choose. And before long, we began discussing some of the stupid, silly stuff that he had been dealing with. You know, sometimes when we break down what we're going through in life, we really can find the humor in it, the joy in it. And he began laughing, and his whole outlook had changed. And that's what laughter can do. It can change your whole outlook on life. That simple moment of joy completely shifted his mood. It reminds me of how powerful a good laugh can be. When, we get together, we need to learn how to be our own interveners when problems hit. Because if we're always waiting for somebody else to speak into us, to bring about a transformation in us, oftentimes it will take too long. So we need to learn how to intervene in our own lives when the problems of life hit us. Find things to think about that turn us from sorrow and frustration to joy and anticipation. Start laughing for no reason at all. If you want stronger relationships, bring joy into the room. People remember how you have made them feel. So thought number two, laughter builds connection. It is a social glue. I mean, you put super glue on something and it sticks together. And laughter is like that in the social environment. It has a social glue effect. It binds or bonds together. Shared laughter creates trust and it creates bonds. On one of my international trips, I went to Romania to help set up a radio station. I went with a DJ from one of my friend's radio stations in Washington State, up near the border in Canada. And I'd known him for a while. We had worked together in the radio station, on-air shows and such, but we never really connected. I never really had a connection with him on a personal level. But we went to Romania, and I remember one of the evenings there, it was probably the second or third day in, we had a hard enough time trying to communicate with the locals who all spoke Romanian and very broken English. And Jason and I didn't speak any Romanian, so we were trying to communicate specifically in English. But one night in a dimly lit front room of a house of one of the people that we were there working with, and it was dimly lit because back then, this was in the 90s. Back then, they had their electricity was 220, but they had most of the bulbs taken out, and they just had a couple low glowing bulbs. And it was a really weird kind of low glow environment, but we started telling stories. We started sharing things that were funny and humorous, how things in our life had transformed. And it seemed like it broke not only the communication barrier, but it also broke the relationship barrier. And through laughter and through the joy that came from it, through the funny anecdotes, I actually became friends with Jason and also those who were hosting us there in Romania as we were putting the radio station together to go on the air. It's amazing how a simple story, an anecdote, how something goofy happened in your life, how you crashed on your bike, how you fell off of a horse, maybe how you slipped on the snow, anything that has happened and become silly. Now, at the time, sometimes our silly stories or our incidents don't seem real funny, but when we look back, when we have that perspective and look back, we see how silly we looked, how goofy we felt, how awkward it was. I mean, I remember when I was playing baseball, I was playing shortstop, and I took a ground ball that had hit the lip coming across the infield, and it had changed trajectory. I mean, I was ready to field this ball, and when it changed trajectory, I couldn't get my hands up fast enough, and the ball caromed off my forehead, went straight up in the air. I caught it, threw the ball at first base, and still got the runner out. At the time, it was not funny. But when I look back on it, I think of what it must have looked like to somebody on the opposing team, somebody in the dugout, the other players. I do have to tell you, though, it did knock me out of the game. I ended up having to come out of the game because I got hit so hard. But looking back on it, it was funny. It reminds me of a Fred Flintstone cartoon because, man, did I have a lump on my forehead from that. So sometimes these stories, though, when you tell them, people see it and they see humor in it and they see themselves in it, and it can break the weightiness. Why is this important? Because we get weighted down in life with so many things, and laughter can change that whole perspective and become a great motivator for us. See, fear and anger can motivate, but that motivation is generally short-lived. The reason it's short-lived is it has negative consequences attached to it. People don't want to do things for you. They don't want to do things with you when they're done constantly facing anger and they're facing threats and those kind of things. But when you connect through laughter, people remember how you made them feel. They're more likely to go the extra mile. They're more likely to sacrifice to achieve common goals. Some corporate types have even gone so far as to bring comedians or send their employees to comedy nights to help them gain the benefits that laughter brings into someone's life. If you're a business owner, if you're running a business and you have a team, if you can bring laughter into their life through something, you may find a greater perspective of motivation. You may connect with them on a new level, because remember that when people laugh, it does something to the mind. That release that brings joy also brings a connection. So here's thought number 3. Laughter fuels resilience. See, laughter can be a springboard to overcome challenges. You can sit around and ponder how bad life is. You know, like when you lose a job, maybe you have a breakup, you have a bad month or year in business, you get in an auto accident, whatever it is, you can sit around and you can think about, woe was me, how bad things are, how am I going to deal with this? And you can think about all the negative. Or you can hang out with positive, uplifting people who bring laughter into your life. People who get your mind producing the chemicals it needs for good thoughts, for plans, for visions, for overcoming. See, you get to choose the people that you hang around. You get to choose the things that influence your life. You get to choose how your mind produces the chemicals that you need to overcome, to be more joyous, to be able to help even motivate other people. Laughter can come in some of the simplest places and at some of the most inopportune times. One day, my cousin and I had this great idea while we were hanging out at her place. Our grandmother had left this recipe for her farm fresh apple pie. And since there was nothing else going on, everybody else was out, we decided to make a pie for everyone for when they showed up, right? What a great idea. What a great moment to have, with a family member. The only thing is when Grandma wrote this recipe on a 3x5 card, she did it in grandmother shorthand. And so we got through making the recipe for the pie mixture. It talked about exactly how to cut the apples down, how to skin the apples to make sure you had the best part of the apples, the most juicy part of the apples, and the ingredients that went in it, and all the things to make this very, very flavorful. But then it came time for the pie crust. We had to make the crust for it to sit in. It had a recipe for the pie crust. And we thought we had followed the recipe to the letter. We thought it was a little strange when the recipe said, add a cup of salt. We thought, well, that's quite a bit of salt to be going into a pie crust. But that's what her handwriting looked like. And so we made the pie. We took it out. And, you had everything had the crust and the nice top. My cousin, did the nice stripe thing on the top. It looked beautiful, just like something out of a magazine. However, when we served the pie and people got their first bite of the pie crust, it was absolutely laughable. Yes, we were not supposed to use a cup of salt in the pie crust. It was supposed to be a dash of salt in the pie crust. And it was the saltiest pie you have ever tasted in your life. And I tell this story because over the years, it has broken the ice with people facing problems and given them something to laugh about. Can you imagine, making this great treat for everybody and everybody gets more salt than they've had in an entire month? It's this type of things that can break the ice, that can bring joy. I mean, I'm having joy just retelling the story because it was really, really fun. And remember, nobody is asking you to become the next top comedian. Nobody's asking you to become Jay Leno, Tim Allen, or even Robin Williams, right? Just tell funny, stupid anecdotes. This can bring laughter not only into your life, but also into others. And for a moment, it can change worries into shared joy. I will close with this. There is power in laughter. Our call to action today is look for a moment to laugh. Cause yourself to be at a place where you laugh, you find joy, and you change the way your mind reacts to different things you're facing in life, whether it's your job, your relationship, your business, whatever it is. You can change your life through laughter. Hey, I want to thank you for joining me in this episode of the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast. Be sure to check out a growing list of our previous episodes on other real estate investing topics. I invite you to subscribe today and be part of our growing community. You can always find the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you enjoy listening to your podcasts. This is Scott Whitwam. Be sure to join me on our next episode of the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast, where we're wealth building through real estate.